We're live and we're in this thing, of course, to have some fun, especially because we get to talk about Sports Illustrated getting Thayer Evans themselves. And now they're in a pretty precarious situation. So precarious, in fact, that a lot of them, mostly all of them, don't have jobs anymore.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you all kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms visually as well, obviously here on YouTube, since we've got a little live edition mixed in here today. Got to let you know we're partially brought to you by Game Time. Get in on the action now. You don't have to wait forever on tickets anymore. Download the Game Time app today and use the code Locked On to get $20 off your first purchase. So as a lot of people have been able to see today, the news is slowly matriculated out there that, yes, in fact, Sports Illustrated is in the latest line of your traditional legacy media types that is folding, which is beautiful, and this is why this is personal. For segment number one is because Oklahoma State was directly affected by the bull honky story that Thayer'd Evans put up in regards to Oklahoma State, titled The Dirty Game. Obviously, the insinuation there was Oklahoma State was doing a lot of dirty stuff, illegal recruiting. And then we had to go through the court process, and we had to go through the extensive bullcrap of proving that everything that was in that Sports Illustrated article, or at least 99.7%, was complete crap. And the irony is that was basically the beginning, to me, of your traditional big boy legacy media types saying, you know what, man, just go ahead, run with it. Go ahead and let it fly, because we're Sports Illustrated. So if we put something out, of course people are going to believe that it's true. And ironically, Thayer'd Evans was an Okie. So after all that crap fest happened and Oklahoma State got drugged through the mud 17 ways from Sunday, we cleared our name, but it really was just quiet. It got kind of swept underneath the rug. So, of course, there's this fun thing in life called perception. And that made it to where the perception was that Oklahoma State was, in fact, dirty, right? When one of the biggest publications of all time puts you in an article and the heading is a dirty game, that you're dirty. It's very difficult to get that negative connotation off of you. It's absolutely insane that all of that even happened. Yet here we are now that Sports Illustrated is going down the hole. And whenever you look at some of the research behind the traditional media types, Reuters Institute, they recently did a study, and they studied 94,000 adults in regards to what do you do with your media, right? How do you get it, so on and so forth. And almost 40% of people had canceled all of their legacy style of news subscriptions. So that would be including publications like Sports Illustrated. And then there was another study done in regards to the demographics as to why the media has changed so much. Now, there was an attribute that was associated to Gen Z in regards to how the youth, they feel like your traditional legacy media is like kind of somewhat politically pushed. So it's all like narrative driven at you. And clearly, the numbers indicate that that is true. So as much as I'm, giving Gen Z credit is somewhat wild at times, the fact that they get a little bit of the media to be more open, to be more upfront, to be more up honest, because now things like podcasting, YouTube, Rumble, all that's taken over because there's not so much, controlling going on, right? And this is almost retribution, is it not? I mean, it's not quite. It'll never necessarily be enough for the negative connotations that are associated with Oklahoma State for quite some time, right? There's comparisons to Colorado. And the thing of Colorado, before they went crap under, they were very, very good. They were a phenomenal football team that was competing for national titles. And then they got into trouble for illegal recruiting and having those professional ladies of the night and things of that nature in somewhat less than desirable areas of hotels and whatnot. They got caught. That was real. It really happened. Their head coach admitted it, stepped down. Colorado went in the toilet. Oklahoma State was being compared to Colorado during all of this Sports Illustrated, Thayer Evans bullcrap. So this is beautiful to see. And yeah, ironically enough, it's an entire segment because Oklahoma State fans feel a little bit differently about Sports Illustrated, right? And I reposted, a lot of people reposted an old clip today on Twitter of Mike Gundy. And he was asked a question in a press conference, and it was from a Sports Illustrated guy, and Gundy was amazing. He was like, wait, where are you from? Oh, really? This is great. And then, he told the guy to make sure that he got all of his facts and stats and everything right, because he didn't want to make sure he didn't get anything wrong. He was taking jabs, and that was amazing, right? That is so much fun to see out of your head man, regardless of even if there's times you don't exactly agree with where everything's at and how everything's going. Moments like that are what does admittedly make Mike Gundy the GOAT in Stillwater. And this season, the greatest turnaround of all time. Guys, so the reason we went live today, and stay with me, I'm going to start putting the comments and all that fun jazz up too. But I got to format this a little bit more like the regular show as well. For the regular show, I had a national recruiting expert analyst named Brian Smith that's been recovering national recruiting since 1990 on the show, and he highlighted like the top 4 or 5 guys in this recruiting class that he thinks will have some capabilities to potentially start, maybe very early. So basically, that episode went so well, I've got to savor it and save it for Sunday so I can kind of promote it for all day Saturday, which is why we're going live right here, right now. So as you can see in the bulletins there, segment number 2 is going to be discussion of transfer success. Now for us, there is a direct correlation with the guys that are getting invitations, or the guys that should get invitations to the Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, Hula games, because of what our assistants were able to do, right? But before we get to that, I would be remiss if I didn't jump in here and let everybody know that today, if you're not rocking and rolling with FanDuel, I mean, come on, y'all. What are we doing? There's a reason that right now we're trying to help everybody get an extra 150 bones back in your wallet, in your pocket, wherever, because we really need the capitalization to be with you guys as well. And if you get $150 back guaranteed when you place a $5 money line bet, that's a win. You know the app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. We bet on anything from same game parlays, over, under, who's going to win the Super Bowl, division titles, Heisman's, and more. So make sure that you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your next bet your best bet with FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make sure you go to FanDuel today, because it is, in fact, the official partner of the NFL. So We all know that there was portions of times throughout the transfer portal over the last few years that it's kind of been out of sight, out of mind to some degree. Now, thankfully, we're in a very blessed place. Just like we always talk about the numerical value associated with some of the recruiting numbers aren't exactly always right. Well, the same thing can lie here. The guys that we have that we don't get to talk about enough, right? The Todd Bradfords, that all they do is scour for the next potential guys we're going to get. Last season at this time, we lost what, 24, 25, ended up being like 26, 27 dudes. We've lost 8 scholarship players, and it's amazing that we're in this completely different position this year. But it's because of the guys like Todd Bradford, the guys like Benny Tonga, Rashedi Jones, and of course, your J.W. Walshes. Those guys are so instrumental, and they were to the success that we had this season because of the transfer class that we got. Now, we all know up until the day of national signing, on 3 Sports, whether you love them or hate them, whatever, they have some legitimacy. They do some ridiculousness too, but they've got some legitimacy, yeah? Unlike Sports Illustrated. Whenever they kind of put the rankings out that we were number 1 in the country in the transfer portal, when you looked at the other publications, Oklahoma State was traditionally 5, 6, 7, 8, right around that range. So everybody in the country did, in fact, say that Oklahoma State had a pretty good transfer class last year. And it saved the season. Guys like Leon Johnson. Guys, if Leon Johnson doesn't go for, what was it, $143 or whatever, homecoming, Cincinnati in the second half, we don't win that game. If Leon Johnson doesn't do some instrumental things in Bedlam, we don't win that game. Guys, let's face it. Leon Johnson had the catch of the year, right? But it wasn't for a touchdown, and it was the last game of the season. Therefore, it didn't get a lot of pub. But that dude stepping up allowed us to get to the Big 12 title game. Y'all know I give Allen, our main man, Crawdaddy Bowman, a hard time, and it's fair, right? He's talked about it. Gunny's talked about it. The bailing out of the pocket stuff, still a little bit wild, but he's a transfer that had just told Baylor, I'm a Baylor Bear. He goes from Ann Arbor, Michigan to Waco, Texas. I'm a Baylor Bear. Let me go grab my stuff. Oh, and by the way, might as well stop in Stillwater. It is physically, literally on the way. And then we give him a phenomenal presentation. So whether you like, love, or hate Alan Bowman, I don't know anyone that hates him, but whatever camp you lie in, he was a transfer that helped save the season. Anthony Goodlow, he didn't necessarily pop off the stat sheet, which is why we got rid of Greg Richmond and brought in good old Paul Randolph, but he was a transfer that did, in fact, do some things in some big moments that showed up. Reminiscent, if you remember Brendan Evers, 2021 Bedlam, he wasn't always dominating the stat sheet, but right there was like one play where he runs all the way to the sideline and he makes a big play, bats a ball down. They end up having a punt. We win the game. He only had like 1 tackle, right? But he made the play that we'll always remember. Broderick Brown's tip pass back into Sean Lewis. We'll always remember that. These transfers, Josiah Johnson, and you know what? It really does suck, man, that we didn't all get to see what Elijah Collins can do on a consistent basis. Because he was good. He was good, guys. He was very, very, very good. You don't go put up, 988 yards in 1 year at Michigan State and then come to Oklahoma State and then not all of a sudden be able to do it. It just, the injury bug popped up at literally the wrong time. And then Ollie Gordon said, hold my beer. This is my job. See what I'm going to do with it. What I'm going to do with it equals a Doak Walker Award equals Earl Campbell Award. Dalton Cooper. Guys, we all have to reel ourselves back in to him playing right tackle. Right? That was the thing. That happened. And we talked on this very show about how people in his camp were telling me till they were blue in the face that he's played left tackle since he was like 8 years old. Right tackle is like, it's a completely different, hostile foreign island to him. And you see some of the transitions from people like Tevin Jenkins that could do it fairly interchangeably. So I thought that if he couldn't do it at right tackle, maybe left tackle, maybe a little much. I was 100,000% wrong. I'm glad that I was. And so are the coaches. Right tackle, he just didn't work. You put the transfer from Texas State left tackle, and all of a sudden, we're darn near a juggernaut. Joe Maholski, 2022, not good. Not a transfer, but you do know that the transfers that were brought in were part of the solidification that allowed for the 2-2 record after losing, 9 of 10 or something like that beforehand. That turnaround not only was because of the players, but the transfers. And it just needs to be hammered home that the Benny Tongas of the world, the J.W. Walshes of the world, they need as much love and praise as we can physically possibly give them, because I'll give you a little sneak peek to the recruiting show we're dropping Sunday. That stuff matters, and Mike Gundy's pretty good at it and getting better. His embracing of things is going to make life significantly better. And let's face it, if you win trophies, you're going to get more respect. There's a lot of times that's a high 3-star, commits to a Texas or a Bama or a Florida State. And what happens? Holy kazoo, they're 4 stars. If that same dude instead commits to an Oklahoma State or a BYU, they're stuck as a 3-star. But if Oklahoma State takes its spot, its rightful place at the top of the daggone crown of the new conference, then that's not going to be an issue anymore. But isn't it crazy that last season we were one of those that had to have the transfer portal pitch in to help save a season, and now this year we're returning 20 starters. Technically, right? You throw in Alan Bowman, of course. There you go. You got your 20. If you want to throw in Lyric Rawls, guys, we're talking like 21 of 22 starters back. Nobody else in the country's doing that. And the transfer portal was able to stem the tide because of the staff. The staff we have at Oklahoma State is top notch. So if there's any more amounts of flowers I can give to Mike Gundy in this one department, for sure, it's keeping the continuity. Did he put too much on Casey Dunn's plate and shoulders? I think so, yes. I think it's very clear that probably was the case. But when it comes to keeping guys like Coach Hammersmith and Coach Duffy and Coach Joe Bob and Coach Wozniak, you're talking 10 years, 9 years, 12 years, 14 years. And then you've got people in the analyst department that have been around for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, which that part's not exactly super normal. So Oklahoma State's ability of retention on the staff is maybe the best in the country. Like, I'm about to jump into the comments, and we're gonna have some fun there. But yeah, y'all let me know. We very well might be in that position, right? I tell you a position that you don't want to be in is looking and stressing and planning for tickets, because Game Time's got you covered. You already know, yeah. All you got to do is download the Game Time app today, because whether you're buying tickets the minute the event starts or an hour after the event, you're still good to go. Game Time is fast and easy, and it's the best way for you to buy tickets to sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They've got the last minute killer deals, all in prices. Best part to me is the view from the seat and the best price guarantee. So takes all the guesswork out of buying tickets. It takes all the stress out of it too. You can find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And with the zone deals, you pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you get a big time savings. Bada boom, bada bing, bada bang, you're done. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Take the stress out of it too with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account, redeem that code. LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right. So here's the last segment before we jump into the comments and just, chat it up a bit here. How many transfer portal people had regrets? I think that's part of the reason you're not seeing much of an exodus at all, right? And nowadays, if you lose 12, 13, 14, maybe 15 guys, that's manageable. I mean, it's sad that you can lose 15 dudes nowadays and it'd still be somewhat okay, right? But when you're only losing 7, 8 guys, let's take a gander at the ones who did leave, right? Obviously, the big one, the guy who could have had $463,000, Spencer Sanders, goes to Ole Miss, doesn't get to play. Now, statistically, and I don't know the exact number, I should have, but my bad. But let's say there was 4,000 entries, right, into the transfer portal. Out of those 4,000, only 800 of them or 1,100 ended up at equal position or higher. John Paul Richardson was doing very, very well at TCU, but TCU was terrible. Bryson Green didn't get to do much of a whole lot of anything in Wisconsin, right? And after the bowl game against Wisconsin the previous year, you thought maybe he would be able to do some stuff. Stephon Boogie Johnson, he did deal with an ankle injury that put him out for 4 or 5 games, and he excelled at the end of the season. But again, Houston is terrible, and losing is not fun. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you are. If you're the LeBron James of the team, but you're 2-11, 2-10, 1-8, whatever, it doesn't carry a lot of weight. So with the success that we had last year and the insanely exorbitant amount of 6th-year, 7th-year type of guys that we have coming back, I think a lot of people are looking at that plus the talent and realizing that, all right, if I transfer, there's a 70% shot, maybe higher, 75% shot that I'm not even going to get exactly what I'm getting here. And we should be playing for a Big 12 title, which means probably play longer, which means more tape, more film, more eyeballs, more scouts, more trophies, more rings, more all of it. So they're staying. Oklahoma State University was able to keep Ollie Gordon, Nick Martin, Kendall Daniels, Colin Oliver, Brennan Presley, who we knew was already agreed to be gone. So financially, we found a way to make it work. We've only grabbed a handful of guys out of the portal, but I would say much like last season, the guys that were grabbed out of the portal probably going to be pretty instrumental. Even if it's an Isaiah Glass, who started 30 some odd games or whatever at Arizona State, and PFF grade wise did pretty daggone well. He's going to end up being maybe the best left tackle backup in the entire conference. So that's pretty huge, right? And then, Obi Ezegbo, he's going to get a bad rap, right? Because he comes from Gannon and blah, blah, blah. But Leon Johnson, he got a bad rap for coming from George Fox. Not on this show. No, sorry, Bob. dude, there wasn't a lot of film on him, but the clips that were out there, it was like, oh crap. I saw Marcel Aitman instantaneously. And another little teaser next week, we are going to do an analysis whenever I get all of the statistics, measurable stuff of Leon Johnson III versus what Tay Martin and Marcel Aitman put up for their combine pro days. So the reach, the hand size, the broad jump, the vertical, the 40, all that fun jazz. And we'll do a comparison. And we're going to do likewise for Josiah Johnson with, say, Blake Jarwin and maybe a Brandon Pettigrew. I don't know that Brandon Pettigrew is really fair because he was a monster that got the ball all the time. He was like wide receiver 1.5. So, yeah, maybe another tight end that we can kind of squeeze in there that has pro day, combine type stuff. Anywho, that's all we're going to have for that stuff. Now, fellers, ladies, whoever, whatever, let's see what we got here. All right. What? Hey, buddy. All right. What? Really? Is that true? Mark Rogers thinks that Thayer didn't lie. Wow. I'll have to ask him about that. I don't mind pressing. that button. Yeah. Oh, you never will. Guys, when OU fans are hooting and hollering, just tell them to go research 1975. I have never got an answer from a single, not a now, not a one OU fan that can give me an explanation on how they have a 1975 national title. Still, honestly, other than, well, it's recognized by something better than your 1945. Get out of here. Get out of here with that bull. Yeah, they won't get investigated because it's OU. They're a blue bud. But with this Sports Illustrated going down and a lot of your legacy media style stuff going down, I do think this is like the awakening to some degree. So I think some of that could legitimately change. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Jared, what up, buddy? Yeah, no, 100% clean program. Well, and okay, that's cool. You brought that up too. Whenever he took over, and I'm sure a lot of us remember, the first thing he did was get rid of all of the top guys. Right? Seymour Shaw was going to be a dude, guys. Even Tatum Bell, Reggie White have talked about how Seymour Shaw on this show was pretty certified. He's one of the first people to go, right? We lost most of our starting defense. We lost most of our starting offensive line. Gundy cleaned house. And 05 was a terrible season. Since then, yeah, we've run a clean ship. And I think another example you can go to would be Tyreek Hill. I do think that you could have a debate to some degree on maybe we were a little quick to boot him off the team. I do think booting him off the team was the right call, but maybe we should have waited more than like 12 hours to boot him. But that goes to show when our buddies down the road, they can have people knocking chicks out in the middle of bars and getting tackled by cops and running around doing whatever, selling cocaine, moving cocaine. They can do all of that. Not a big deal. Everybody's still playing. I mean, one of them took a redshirt suspension. Yeah, that was cute. Meanwhile, Mike Gundy's like, oh, you did what? You fell asleep drunk in the parking lot? Okay, good. Pack your bags. Later, Tater. That's the difference. So, yeah, no matter what negativity anybody could ever throw at Gundy, that ain't one of them. And we're actually blessed for it. You know what I mean? We don't get washed up in a lot of the crap. For the investigation, you think it was less? Yeah. But regardless, that was the beginning of like what? That doesn't even make sense. Like, why didn't your bosses hold you accountable at Sports Illustrated of all places? That's the thing, is like you would think that the bosses at that big of a company would be monitoring. What up? Oh, a regulator. What's up, brother man? I greatly appreciate you stopping in, popping in here, having some fun. We don't get to do the live stuff all that often. But again, the recruiting show that's going to drop Sunday is a can't miss, right? If you're excited about some dudes on this incoming recruiting class, including some of the early enrollees, I promise you, Sundays are going to be fun. And it's not me doing the talking. I know there's some people in here wet, right? You might appreciate Sundays. It's the recruiting expert doing the talking, not me the entire time. All right. What were you talking about, bro? Were you? I was there. Come on now. Collins, yeah, no, not a Doak Walker for sure. Absolutely. Speaking of Collins, I'm gonna scroll through here. And yeah, he signed with a CFL draft deal. So, what about Cam Epps? What about Cam? Holler at me. Holler at me. Probably was in the time. We were talking about transfers. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Robert. My guy. Yeah. Bruce is gone. Yeah. You know, who was it Tata? Not, I was talking to some, what year was that? It might have been Reggie. I was talking to one of the old dudes, the old heads, about Prentice, and everybody was like he was Tyreek before there was a Tyreek. If he would have been able to keep his head clean, but he couldn't. And you know that's actually crazy when it comes to like recruiting and transfers. Sometimes it's better for people to get out of Dodge. Guys, do you remember that bona fide certified 4-star running back we got from Tulsa? Devin Thomas. I think he was from BA, right? Somebody check me if I'm wrong. But yeah, he was all that and 73,000 bags of tater chips. And he was turning heads in his very limited time at Oklahoma State in just a couple weeks. And then he goes back home and, you know, gets wrapped up, caught up in the crap. And so sometimes players do need to get away from state, right? It's kind of a wild time. All right, guys. If we don't have a whole lot more, I'm not going to keep you all forever. But make sure tomorrow we're going to have a live Twitter space right after the women's basketball game. If it's a long game, we might kind of cross over a little bit of the end of the game, which is fine because if we do, we can, you know, discuss the ending of the game, and then it might even, you know, be a little bit more fresh. But so obviously we're going to talk about JC Hoyt, the Cowgirls, the game against Texas, number 11, soft AF Texas. Yeah, I said it. And then we're going to do a preview of the K-State game, men's game in Manhattan, obviously right after. So hopefully at least the front half of that Twitter space is a lot of fun because the back half is going to probably get a little bit testy. Right? Let's just face it, people are going to say some wild off the wall stuff, and we're going to have to do some checks and balances. But the women's basketball part, right, that should go pretty smooth. Hopefully we get the W. That would be nice. And you know what? Hopefully, JC Hoyt, I don't know what kind of, you know, fine we'd all have to collectively chip in for, but if we could get a little bit of this horns down action at the end of the game, that'd be great. Because the men's basketball team, A, we don't look as hot, as y'all do, and B, we don't play Texas till like March 2nd, I believe. So we have to wait a while, and it's in Austin. So even if we do beat them up, right, our sweet revenge will be screaming at a TV, drinking an original 1890, of course. But yeah, guys, legitimately, I was gonna drop that recruiting episode today, but I was like, dude, this is really good stuff. And Fridays, for whatever reason, don't have the same numerical benefits as the weekdays. I don't get it, right? It's like the one day of the week that the numbers go down. It's like every other Friday, whatever. So, because it was so good, we're going to promotion it, promote it. There we go. I can speak English sometimes. We're going to promote that, obviously, throughout the course of the day tomorrow into the Twitter space after the K-State men's basketball game, and then we'll drop it Sunday. He's got some good points. We talk about the recruiting number, Oklahoma State, right? 57, 64, 67, whatever, and how there's a disconnect, right, between what your recruiting number is and what the product on the field equals. 10 win, 11 win style ball clubs aren't 70s recruiting stuff, right? I mean, Utah, they're traditionally kind of in that same level as us, but they traditionally win a lot of ball games. They make a lot of ball games. They win a lot of bowl games. And Oklahoma State, obviously, is no different. And OU and Texas are gone. Obviously, we didn't have to fear Texas for a decade. That was nice. They were for real this year. That's good. Great for them. Cool. But OU's been they've been a thorn in the side. Let's call a spade a spade. With OU being gone, and we know Arizona's going to be good, but without Jed Fish and a decent chunk of the staff and a handful of guys, Arizona's not going to be quite as good. They went from returning like 87% of the roster, much like us, to, I don't know what it is now exactly statistically, but probably around the 79, 80%, which is still really, really, really good. I mean, how many teams in the country would love 80% of the roster returning? But it's not the same as 85%, right? It's not the same as 87%. Cam Rising is good, but he doesn't make up for almost an entire roster on both sides of the ball. KU, they've got 85-ish% of their dudes coming back, 80. But Utah's not going to be the same. Arizona with Jetfish and staff being gone, it's not going to be the same. So it should be Oklahoma State's time. And this year, we're doing it with just a couple transfers. We're not really going to have a lot. It's guys that have come up through the program for the most part. Because, I mean, heck, let's talk about a Trey Rucker. Yeah. Unless Trey Rucker gets a decent amount faster, he's going to have some, you know what? I'll just leave that one. I'll leave that one for Sunday, right? I'm trying to get ahead of the ball game for the recruiting analyst expert, Brian Smith. Make sure you go check him out. And yeah, see you tomorrow on the Twitter space. If anybody's got any questions, comments, concerns. One thing I will say real quick before we skedaddle on out of here on the Twitter space, it is going to be a little bit more regimented. Yeah. Okay. So it'll be somewhat choreographed, for lack of a better term, like the show in segments. There will be times where it's a free for all and it gets a little loosey goosey. Of course, we'll have to reel it back in. It's inevitable. But for the most part, we're going to try to stay on topic of women's basketball. So it may not be everybody's, cup of taters. But if you notice on social media, Twitter, hashtag DLHS is pushing. And Keaton got a post to get over a million impressions. So the push to get Gallagher Abba packed out for at least February 3rd Bedlam, which I'm 95% sure I'll be flying in for. Just that game, because I got to be a part of that. Yeah. And then we'll shift to basketball, and then we'll do a bunch of hooting and hollering about football. It will happen, right? I'm sure of it. We can't have a live space without talking about football, but we're going to try to kind of stick to topics so we don't go bouncing all over. And you know what I mean? Sometimes you get in a Twitter space, you're talking about Oklahoma State basketball, and then all of a sudden we're in La La Land talking about 1999 defensive linemen. I'm in for it. Y'all know I could talk O State all day, every day, hence the daggone name. So, speaking of, make sure if you don't follow me, go do so on Twitter at AllDayOState. Check the Twitter space action. Check out the recruiting analyst expert's diagnosis of some of the main dudes of this recruiting class Sunday. We're going to have some freshmen that are going to have some opportunities. All right, y'all. You know the drill. I love you. As always, God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen in on Locked On Oklahoma State. We're late. We're live, but we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Oh, and for the handful of you that are still left, we've got some crazy guests lined up. But we've got dudes getting ready for combines, pro days. They've got agents and stuff now. There's a lot going on. I mean, we've got players that went back home. Some of them live in other countries. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's been moving and shaking, but we're going to let some of it die down. But I promise you, some of the guests that we're about to have lined up, yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be good. We're going to fill this off season with guests. It's going to be a lot of fun, especially if some of the guests happen to be coaches right now. Oh, yeah. I love you all. Later, taters.